Welcome to the Wealth and Brilliance podcast. This is episode 1, Confusion and Overwhelm. Hello there, Brad here with Build Brilliance, bringing you a new episode of Wealth and Brilliance. Let's refer to it as Coffee Talk. Welcome to the new format for future episodes. This is basically my launch episode. Thanks for joining me. So, hope you had a really productive week this week. I know I did. In this inner circle group, especially Ultimate Brilliance Academy, we talk about habits a lot. Good habits mostly, but as we know, contrasting is important for illuminating awareness. So let's chat about some of the bad habits for just a moment. Habits that people do that end up hurting their chances of success. It's important to know these, especially when they're creating their online businesses from scratch. And so today, I'd like to begin the series with one of those habits that's just a little bit too common. In fact, it's actually one I know a lot about as I've walked through this fire a few times throughout my career. As I observe the groups that I'm in, online and offline, as I listen intently to the people I coach, really all the people in and out of my circles, as well as those who join my email list, I hear many people describing their biggest challenges. One of the biggest challenges by far is information overload and overwhelm. It just seems to be everywhere. They appear to be two of the biggest constraints for people that are looking to build their businesses. But here's the thing. And this is the hard part to hear. Most people are doing that to themselves. They're doing it voluntarily, but they don't even know it. It's almost as if they don't realize that they're doing it to themselves. For example, let's look at a typical person who's trying to start and grow an online business or an offline business. It doesn't really matter. And we'll just call this guy George, okay? So George wants to break the golden handcuffs. He wants to leave his job, basically. He wants to build and scale an online business. He has visions of making enough money online so that he can walk out of his day job someday soon. Now, he's under no illusions that this is going to be some kind of an overnight thing. He totally understands that it's going to take some work, and he believes he is willing to do that work. Oh, so important. But George needs to figure out what to do, as in the steps to take. So he goes out and he starts searching for information. He starts reading various articles, starts connecting with so-called gurus. He starts searching the online world of business. He subscribes to several different email lists. He bookmarks a bunch of different blogs and websites on his phone and laptop. And he does this so he can keep track of things as he registers for some other webinars and courses as well. You all know about that stuff, don't you? All the things that we all do, right? The problem is that George is still confused. He feels like he's starting to understand the theory behind all these things and believes he can start to use some of this terminology or vernacular from this world of online business. At this point, he sort of gets the concepts, but there's still a problem. He's still personally confused about the individual steps he should be taking, and yet he feels like all the time that he's invested so far should be providing or producing some results. So his frustration starts to grow. You with me? So at this point, due to frustration, he tries to solve the problem by buying a few more courses. This process has served him well to this point, so he feels like the answers lie in more information. He sees a few things on sale because that's what we do in business. We sell things, right? And so he signs up to seek more answers. All these courses look awesome. Certainly, the ad copy on the pages make each of these, they look really, really, really amazing. You know the feeling. And so he ends up picking up a few more and a few more webinars. He grabs a few tools as well. He picks up a couple of apps, some plugins, some online services. Every time he buys one of these tools or one of these courses, he feels like he did something concrete to grow his actual business. But deep down inside, he still feels this nagging, frustrating feeling. In fact, some of these courses and tools he's never even finished. He's still feeling confused. He's still somewhat overwhelmed. And now he's also feeling isolated a bit. There's a real deep desire to know what he should be doing next. So now he's taken some action. And now he has a website. He has some cool tools and courses with access to a bunch of different training materials. The vault, as I like to call it. He's still reading posts and articles out there. He's on lots of different email lists. Let's face it, George has no shortage of information. Frankly, it's coming out of his ears. Yet, he's still feeling fairly paralyzed by the entire experience. He seems to be in much the same place even though he's purchased all this stuff now. So the question is, what's up with George? As in, what's going on with George? How does George still feel confused and overwhelmed, despite having all these great tools and trainings he's accessed? Well, let's be candid. Allow me to tell you. George has drowned himself in information in an attempt to solve these problems. But the solution was never more information. Well, let me back up a bit. Perhaps it was at first. At first it was, but shortly thereafter, he had the tools for the next step. And now after so long, he's literally just choking on information. Information surfeit, it's called. George doesn't need any more information. He doesn't need any more webinars. He doesn't need more training videos. He certainly doesn't need more people's posts or any more articles. No, what George really needs is a sense of structure. He needs order and he needs simplicity. George needs to build systems now. He needs to move from consumer to producer. He needs his action to start equaling his ambition. See, believe it or not, structure creates freedom. In an attempt to fix the feeling of confusion and the feeling of overwhelm he's felt, he's piled on more stuff. But since there's no foundational structure or order to any of this informational stuff, he's simply made the problem worse. The reality is, confusion has rained down on him. It's a common feeling when you have tons and tons of stuff all moving around at once. It's called chaos. Some people refer to it as disintegration, as in dissolving from not having things in order. Picture this. It's almost as if someone is literally sitting cross-legged in the middle of a busy intersection. Pause and picture it with me. Cars whirling all around, buzzing by, honking, screaming, all the noise, all the bustling, all the speed and confusion. So much that George has a paralyzing feeling in his online business. And yet, there he sits, learning new things and frustrated as it all whizzes by. Every time George reads an article or views some training video, he's simply adding another layer to a big pile of confusion. Trust me, I get it. I've been there. It's overwhelming. I have been there. So let's talk a little bit about the solution here for George. George needs to start peeling the layers back off of his onion of confusion so he can cross the intersection and get into his own car and create some traction and momentum. George needs to return to the basic fundamentals of structure. George needs to take on personal discipline of putting order and structure into his actions. George needs to make some money in his business. Some moolah, some dough, some cheddar. If George can invest in somebody to help with that, yes, I do shameless plugs in my coaching, then that's awesome. If he can invest in a coach, that's awesome. If not, he's going to have to take it upon himself. Totally get that too. Ultimately, it does come down to personal discipline. Yep, that's what George is going to have to employ. Personal discipline. George needs to employ something called just-in-time learning. It means you only invest time learning precisely what you need to do for the exact thing that you need to do. As is said, putting the blinders on. It's removing focus for everything else that's not necessary. It's like self-imposed tunnel vision. George doesn't need to entertain himself with every influencer or every business guru out there. What he needs is to focus on just a few, or a coach, to help determine what the next domino is. You're looking for the domino that will knock down several other dominoes. Efficiency, effectiveness, right? So I'm going to be sure I'm sharing more about this in upcoming communications right here in order to add value. But there's one more thing. I'll make mention of it quickly as we wrap up today's episode. This really is the big idea between the Ultimate Brilliance Academy. It's meant to be a learning lab, a type of mastermind or peer think tank, if you will. But it takes a decision to be committed to the process. It takes discipline and commitment to the other team members and to yourself. The fastest way that UBA members make progress is by committing to the team and by bringing a spirit of cooperation. They hop on the monthly calls, they show up often, they communicate with one another through posts and comments, they ask questions, they share their expertise with other group members, they look to contribute. That's the key factor there. They share struggles openly. They also share and celebrate small and large wins and success stories together. Otherwise, it's simply more information. Information doesn't equal execution. And we know what that does to George. Let's not keep getting ourselves confused by going off and studying things that are not really relevant. Brilliant warriors employ a roadmap and a blueprint. They stop chasing shiny objects and instead employ just-in-time learning. If you follow the roadmap one step at a time, you'll create traction and make headway. The reality is some do, others do not. Some just basically feel the need to tackle everything at once by reading all the stuff in their own way, rather than following the system to keep their eye on the ball. Now, if you desire rapid progression in building your business, and if what I described to you as George is something that you feel yourself, then I do recommend that you employ some of the services I offer and some of the coaching packages, strategy calls, and rapid booster sessions. The spectacular and rapid transformations that people have received have been amazing. Ultimately, it's all up to you. No matter what you do, it's up to you. It's a matter of how fast you want to get to where you want to be. It's a matter of your commitment to you. It's a matter of investing in you. If interested in investing in you, you can find out more by looking at the services listed on my page at Build Brilliance, LLC, or by simply emailing me at brad@bradmilford.com. Thanks so much for listening. I'll see you on the next episode. Hey, we're going to continue talking a little bit about George here, our friend George. Like you, he's amazing. You are a brilliant warrior, my friend. Go be it. Peace. Thanks for joining me for the Wealth and Brilliance podcast. Look for more episodes. Stay tuned for more soon. Thanks for joining me. So grateful for you. Peace.
Oh, thank you.